Testing the audio, testing the audio. Our levels should be good. What is our audio at? Okay, so we got that. Okay, team. Now let's see if I can actually pull my fucking data. Alright, now let's see if my tables will return so I can give you guys the graphs I'm supposed to give, because I've been having a lot of trouble pulling from my database lately. How are you, Internet? Hope things are going better on your side of the Internet than they are on mine. It has been just the hardest fucking week. And a special treat, I'm breaking the no drinking rules, so probably won't amount to anything, but yay. Alright, and then I need that. Come on, you can do it. Just send the data down. Oh. We should change the cron on that. That might be what's causing the issue. Cheetah's where we make all the money. Sorry, dudes. The show's centered on Jita. Might as well do the undock. Alright, we're going to give it just a few more minutes. Oh no, we're not even at time yet. I still got 5 minutes before I have to start worrying. So, good evening, guys, and welcome to the Prosper Market stream. For those who haven't tuned in before or haven't been able to catch it live, welcome. The way we format this is we do a little bit of pre-show as I get my shit together, because I have to get my graphs back together. I didn't get time to really make the slides like I usually do. And the show runs about 30-45 minutes. Depending on how I feel this week, we might just be doing the bulk stuff and skipping the drill downs, but found some decent stuff worth talking about, so we'll try to do that. It runs about 30-45 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A for 30 minutes after that. Again, I don't mean to be a butthead, but it has been just the hardest week ever, and so I reserve the right to call it quits earlier than I usually do. So this is going to be a bit of a weird week. As far as schedules go, we're going to have a show this week. Show next week is planned, as long as the biblical plague doesn't happen. And then the next 2 weeks are Christmas and New Year's, which both fall on Thursday nights. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel those nights. I'm going to try to get out some more of the Market Maker content for you guys. I do have I still have the one in the can that we recorded before Thanksgiving that I just have not had time to get to editing. We'll see if I get to that this weekend. There should be time. And going to try and get another recording in the can over the next 2 weeks. And been pretty busy on the dev fleet front, so I should have a blog out to you guys sometime in that intervening 2 weeks. So I know usually I have more enthusiasm than this, but really I keep getting kicked in the dick at work, so my energy level is kind of trashed. But we should have a pretty good show. If I ever get my fucking table data down, I'll have some cool graphs for you, because that's what the show is graph porn, the show. During the show, I don't tend to answer questions. We just sort of try to get through it in one take. This is so that I can try to make everyone as happy as possible. That gives us a chance to live stream, a easier to edit show that we can get up to YouTube and the podcast as fast as possible after the show. So I don't tend to answer questions during the show, but right afterwards we'll do a Q&A, and feel free to be active in either the YouTube or the Twitch chat channels. I am watching both, and we will chat as I'll keep those in mind for the end as we work on those. So and I'm going to bug my DBA real quick. Fire 257 in the YouTube chat is asking if the market is acting particularly strange this week. It's not just you. The flags were really weird this week, and I'm actually a little upset. I'm not going to do it as much justice as it really deserves. I'm not sure if it's more activity or people shuffling positions before a vacation, but things were acting really weird. We saw, like, for instance, if I may spoiler, saw some standard kit Tech 2 stuff that never flags, specifically damage controls and stasis web Tech 2s are usually really stable. They track on the price of mats, basically, and if there's ever a particular swing one way or the other, I mean, producers are ready to pounce on that and destroy it, basically. So I'm finding it a little bit weird to see that stuff. All right, we're going to give it one more try. Otherwise, I'm going to need time to do this the hard way. Alright, one more try. Come on, R. I believe in you. Just slurp down that fucking data. I think we might just be stuck with ugly graphs. Oh, the horror. Spam. Curse spam. And if you guys know anywhere that needs a data scientist, you should send it along to me because I might get walked out of work this weekend, this Friday, and I would really be sad about that. But that's why my week has been so shitty. All right. You are up to date. You are up to date. We want... What else do we want? Here, you guys can even see the setup as I try to work on it. Main DT. Main DT. Right. I really need to turn that query off. Okay, fine, we'll put that in. That is not the right folder. Spoilers. What about the Gila? Did the Gila finally... We'll put that on the end. Nope, not that one. The other one. That one? Oh, cell volume is up. That's weird. Let's share that one. Yeah, we can share both. Why not? Why not both? I don't know if I want to work for Amazon. They sound like the kind of guys who ring you out. And I should fix the scale too. That's a little weird. What about the assault cruisers are not newsworthy anymore? What about Hectors? Hectors are interesting. We'll talk about those. Hectors. Cyruskin, I appreciate your input, but if they work at all like Intel, it's really not the kind of place that will be best for me. And if I was going to go work somewhere that was going to chew me up and spit me out, it'd be at Netflix. So, even though I don't know if I'm smart enough to work at Netflix. Oh, bombers. That's the other one I wanted to look at. Because that might actually show if goons are going to war. Doesn't look like it. And interceptors don't show it either. Man, I really got to start flagging on this because that's so interesting. You know what? I want to put Megasite in this list. That will actually be interesting. Oops, not that one. No, the other one. No, those are both interesting. Huh. Megasite. More Megasite. Microcircuits, minerals. We got minerals. We got data cores. We're skipping Moon Goo this week. T3 was another one, but I think I already added that. I did not. Let's go ahead and add that here. And do we want to do a zoom in on Zydrine? That's actually a little bit interesting. Are the volumes actually interesting? No, we won't do a zoom in on Zydrine. I'll just trash talk Zydrine for another week. Okay, R, did you get the data? Are you actually downloading? At 1 megabit. And you're supposed to have, like, 4 gigs worth of it. You suck. Okay, R, you fail. I'm sick of you. You go away. And 6. Looks like we got 20 people this week. That is way better than the pre-Thanksgiving stream. Be sure to spam your favorite channels and get them to tune in live, because the more people who tune in live, the better I feel. Because, yeah, I'm shallow. Alright. Looks like we've got enough slides to do a show, even though we're not doing news. We're going to press that button. We're going to, fix that too. See how the sauce is made. Sorry, it's the best time I can do it. I owe some people some things. Did I already close it? I think I may have already closed it. Splash. Really, there's no, like, other time I could possibly do it. If I do it earlier in the week, then it's no good for the weekend. If I do it later in the week, then it's too late for anybody to care about it. I have to make sure that's released in time so Europe can watch it on YouTube. So, yeah, it's just, kind of a mess. Right, I was going to look up some mails because I had some stuff come in and I'd like to talk to you all about it. All right. Show mail. And then that's not the person. Fucks it up. Then I swear I got one more mail. I don't remember who it was from. Oh, it was from Crimson Mountain. Okay, let me make sure I start the recording or I will be super sad. We can get this show on the road. I'm usually on time, so sorry everyone for being a little behind this week. Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host Lockefox, and I'm here to share with you all of the Eve news for the last week with the latest Frostline release. But before we do that, let's do a quick round of the show news. Just real quick, if you want to tune in live to the show, if you want to tune into the show, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and the blog. If you want to support what we do, please stop by our Patreon and throw a couple bucks in the tip jar there. It really does make a huge difference. It helps us expand the equipment and pay the bills and keep the lights on. So thanks again to all of our patrons. Also, thanks to everyone who stuck with us over the last couple of weeks. We were out for Thanksgiving here in the U.S., and then last week was particularly awful IRL for work. So thanks again for coming back. As far as the schedule goes, expect to see we'll have a show this week, we'll have a show next week, but we won't have a show for Christmas, and we won't have a show on New Year's Eve. Going to try and get some more of the market maker interviews out to you guys. I do have one already in the can and working on getting someone lined up for an interview sometime in the next 2 weeks. So keep tuned there, and hoping to have some blog stuff out because we've been making progress on the dev side of the project, and I do love sharing that stuff with you guys. Last, I want to give a quick shout out to some people who mailed into the show. First, Elothri went ahead and corrected me on my assumption for fuel blocks. I have been saying for a long time that they are majority isotopes and minority PI, and he went ahead and corrected me that it's a lot closer to 50-50 than I expected. So if you hear me saying something wrong on the show, don't be afraid to send along a correction, because I do appreciate it. I don't have time to check absolutely everything, and sometimes my assumptions are just garbage. So thanks for that. Fox It Up also asked about some PI markets. He's been seeing some weirdness in Amar, but I haven't had time to really dig into that. I do have some new graph profiles, though, that should help highlight that. So if I can get some spare time, I'll be trying to get something out to you guys about if there's any funniness in the PI markets to talk about. And then last but not least, Crimson Mountain wrote in, words. And then last but certainly not least, I really got to put a shout out to Chris Turing. He emailed me both in-game and out with just the most amazing email straight to the feels, and I wanted to thank him directly for reaching out. I don't want to go share the contents because it was a bit personal, but thanks again for writing in, and it really did brighten my day. So I do read all of your guys' email, even if I'm dreadfully slow at getting back to you on it. Also, the last little piece of news is to expect me on a few other shows in the upcoming weeks. Should be on a Cap Stable CSM Watch show on the... Oh, actually, let's do this in order. So we're going to have a hydrostatic lore panel this Sunday at 2000 whatever. We're going to have a hydrostatic lore panel this Sunday at 2000. First one we've done in a rather long time, covering everything from the Succession Trials to the Frostline event to the Bloody Omir event, everything that we've been missing for the last couple of months. So tune in for that. On the 20th, I should be on Cap Stable for a CSM Watch interview. We're going to be talking with a panel, not an interview, a CSM Watch panel ahead of campaign season. Again, if you are thinking of running for CSM, you really need to put your ducks in a row, like right now. And then last, I've been invited to go talk at the Dawn of War podcast on January 3rd, I believe. So I will keep those updated on the Twitter. That's really the best place to keep in touch for schedule stuff. And don't forget to stop by the Tweet Fleet Slack. Invites are down in the channel info below. With that, I yammered on long enough for show news. Let's go ahead and go straight into the show. We're skipping game news this week. I have been so far behind on the ball. If you really want to know about specific in-game news that's been going on, the big news is Frostline released, and we're going to talk about those effects in pretty decent detail. And if you want to know about the goings in and ons about fleet fights and null politics, definitely go check out the New Eden update, because they really do the news a lot of justice, and they've been covering it like champs. So stop by there if you really want to know the day-to-day news. With that, let's go straight into Plex. We're going to go right into Plex, and it has been an interesting 2 or 3 weeks. So if you remember on the last show, right before Thanksgiving, I had said you need to sell ahead of Black Friday, and then the next opportunity to buy would be during Black Friday. And if we look at the we'll do a zoom in just a second that actually shows the specific movements. But we can see at a gross level that the trends are sticking. Now, the piece I didn't expect is that we're staying locked in at 1.2 billion. I had expected that we would ratchet down further under 1.15 billion and then settle at maybe 1.15 billion, or start a slow slide into the new year. That was sort of my expectation if I were going to draw a cartoon, but that's not really what we're seeing here. If we look at the 1 year view, again, we're seeing incredible stability around that 1.2 billion mark. Again, if we straight line it from May, things are looking reasonably stable. Nothing's really signaling that we're going to go up or down in any big specific way, so I don't really have a ton to say about Plex. If we look at the RMT token markets, though, things are a little bit different. We're seeing a lot of weakness in the multiple pilot training certificates on rumor that they are dropping in some of the Frostline complexes, and we can see a lot of weakness there. It's a great chance to buy in. That's definitely a buy for this week. Is the MPTCs? They are at a great price, especially if you can get them on buy order around $1 billion. I mean, that's a freaking steal. And whether you're speculating or using them, you're not going to get a better price than right now. And then, so this is one of the new graphs I've been working on. So on the top half, we're looking at buy and sell prices in JITA. And on the bottom half, we're looking at buy and sell order volumes and in JITA as well. So the interesting thing here is right here at the end, after Frostline, we're seeing a tick up in sell volume, which I haven't been able to independently confirm that Plex are dropping in Frostline complexes. There have been rumors. Some of them look pretty decent, and this uptick in sell volume looks to me like there may be some dropping. Now, that does mean that the drop rate is probably abysmally low. So I would not be going and pulling the lever just specifically to try for a Plex. But if you're out there running them anyway, you actually might have a decent chance of getting a Plex. So this is rather interesting. Also, we're seeing, since the Black Friday sale, a pretty steady increase in sell order volume. We saw that the Black Friday sale specifically wiped out a bunch of buy orders, but we've been crawling towards parity for the last few weeks. So that's pretty interesting in my opinion. And the chat is asking about if that's a patch day uptick, and I really don't believe so. We didn't see a similar pattern during the Parallax release, which was Brain in a Box, and was specifically interesting in my opinion because it really opens the new door. And the uptick specifically, I think, is the Frostline drops. And then if we look at each of the hubs really quick, we can see that everything is staying in relative order. We saw some instability in Amar markets over the last few months, but that seems to be trickling out. Most of the sell prices are staying relatively stable around each other. There was a little bit of slippage since before I started publishing this, and suddenly we're seeing margins get much closer. So just kind of an interesting behavior, just to point it out. And then last, we're looking at the Plex prediction that I put out on the blog a few months back in October. For those who haven't been tuning in, I did adjust this a few weeks back to be the 30-day starting average as opposed to the 60-day starting average, so I am cheating a little bit. But we're right inside the bands. The thing that I didn't expect, so we did expect this bump down as the poorly aligned graphs show. But I was expecting this upward pressure to continue through December, and that might be a little optimistic. The player counts tend to go down during this month as people are messing with their families and everything, and we might. And it bit me last year when I talked about having positive Plex outcomes in January off of sales in December. So I'm a little gun shy to really lock in a particular prediction. It's getting about time I should generate a new set of predictions, though. So we'll see about doing something in January. I don't really love the methodology behind this. And I think we can do a little bit better, but it's going to come down to how much time I have to run the simulation. So keep posted for that. Next, we're going to move on to minerals. And minerals are staying relatively quiet. We saw weakness in Trit over November, but right with the Frostline patch, we're seeing it tick back up again. I don't know if this might be tied to some of the industrial action that I've been seeing. Sorry, this looks like it might be words. Damn it. This looks like it might be tracked to an increase in industrial activity that I've been seeing across a lot of the markets, that we might be seeing builders coming to market and buying out the orders and resetting the prices. I don't think that this price over 6.4 is stable in the long run. I think that we should be in a more stable spot at 6.2. But again, we're at a bit of an unstable spot with the way the lines are crossing. Next, if we look at pyrite, things have been way more interesting. We've seen a lot of variance as we go up from 11.5 all the way down to almost 11.0. And those are some pretty significant swings for this product. Again, we're seeing heat right after Frostline and a dive right after that peak. And it's useful to note that with Frostline releasing, the yields on Amber have changed. So we should expect slightly more Trit and slightly more pyrite coming into the market from Amber. The actual values, I think, are still going to be pretty thin, but that might drive some of this instability, and I do expect in the end for pyrite and Trit to track down very slightly. So I expect to be under the 11.2 mark here on pyrite in the next couple of weeks. Did I just put like too many slides in the thing? Next, we're looking at Mexilon. It's been the darling we've been tracking for a while, but it has been very quiet, just staying stable at that 60 point. Until we hear more news about the capital releases, especially with the fax carriers, I don't think we're going to see much movement here. It's not a major component for citadels, so I don't expect this to pop up yet. We might see some action, though, in the spring. So if you wanted to lock in a long-term bet, now is not a bad opportunity to do that. Moving on to Isogen, not a ton to say in Isogen. We've been seeing high weekends and low weekdays, and that trend just persists. We're just moving down slightly to 115. Not much to say here, in my opinion. Noxium is similar. We saw it peak a couple of weeks ago, but has been slowly sliding down now under 480. Again, I expect this particular downward slope to continue. Not sure exactly where the bottom is. I have a hard time saying below 470, but really depends on what's going on in Null. Zydrene has been another darling we've been tracking, and I've been saying for a few months that being over 1K was overvalued, and that NullSec will mine away their margins, and I've been getting proven right, which always feels good. We've been tracking under 1K, and it looked like there were some efforts to try and save that slide, but we're seeing a big sell-off this week right after Frostline, so that price is just tracking way down. We're almost down to 900. Not really sure where the floor is on this, and even if I did know the floor, I still wouldn't give it a buy rating, because I don't think that we can expect the prices to track up without some significant intervention from CCP. So I think that's a risky bet to buy in. But as we go under 900, it's starting to get to that floor I would expect it to stay at. So I'd stay out of the market until January 1st, though. That's just my 2 cents. And then Megasite, I'd been saying, is going to do the same thing as Zydrene, but we've seen a recent bump back up right after the Frostline patch. And, I mean, part of me wants to blame drugs, because with the Frostline drops, they are including synth boosters, and synth boosters should lead people to try stronger drugs. Unfortunately, I really don't believe that. As much as I want people to do more drugs, I don't think that's going to be the actual case here. We're seeing it track up, bouncing off this 1100 price pretty hard. And again, I have a hard time saying that it's going to stay here. If you've got it and you can sell it at a profit, 1200 is a great price, but I have a really hard time not saying it's going to go and dive right under 1100 this weekend. So we'll have to keep a closer eye on this. In the meantime, I did pull the zoomed in graphs, and again, we're seeing what looks like a big sell-off in Amar that might be driving some of this. Kind of hard to say at this point. We're seeing all the other Jita is leading the charge at the moment. And if we look at the buy and sell margins versus the traded volume, we keep seeing sell volume creep up, but it has been reducing slightly over the last week. So though that giant dip in buy volume does not fill me with a ton of hope. So I don't think that the price that we're at is very stable, but I haven't been watching these graphs for more than a week, so I haven't been watching these graphs yet for more than a week, so I don't know what this bottom graph really tells us yet. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep watching it over the next couple of weeks, and we'll just keep tracking it like we do. And then last, Morphite is rather stable at 11.5K. Nothing really big to say here. I do expect the prices to track up slightly now with the new destroyers out and talks of the war drums beating elsewhere. I'm not seeing a ton of activity to really drive Morphite consumption yet, but if you can get in on a particularly generous buy order under 11K, at 11K, it might be a decent chance to buy and hold through December and January into what might be a winter war. So it's a bit of a riskier bet. It's a little bit of long odds. I think right now is a great chance to buy in, but I don't know exactly how much money anybody stands to make on this one. And then last, just to look at the buy and sell margins of everything. Again, we see things staying relatively stable. Trit tracking down, Zydrine's tracking down, Mexilon still tracking down, Pyrite erratic. But I'm not seeing anything particularly hugely newsworthy except for the Megasite bump. Moving on to fuel. Fuel has been another interesting spot in the last couple of weeks. We're seeing Galente fuel track up. I'm not sure if that's because of the silo bonus or not. It's been there have been a lot of sales in the prices of medium towers has been tracking up for some reason. So I don't know. I didn't share those graphs in this presentation, but it was an interesting trend. I didn't know exactly how to present that. But we're seeing strength in Minmatar and Galente ice and weakness in Amar ice. But we continue to see strength in nitrogen isotopes high, far and away beyond the other flavors. And then fuel blocks, and I should probably adjust this again. The fuel block prices have been spiking very strangely. We're seeing both Amar and Minmatar track up significantly, especially when Amar does not have the underlying isotope price to drive it. And Galente fuel blocks look like they're looking pretty weak against the isotope prices. And again, Caldari fuel blocks are Caldari fuel blocks, so I don't know exactly how much money anybody's really making in that market. And then next, I'm probably not going to track these from the next couple of weeks, but I would love to hear some theories on it. Heavy water and liquid oxygen had a big reset right before Thanksgiving, and I still have no idea why. We don't see any particularly exciting bumps in volume. The price just sort of bumped up, and it stayed up, which is just strange. I mean, we saw a price reset of almost 20%. Same for liquid ozone. We saw a big buyout, and prices have stayed stable, and no particularly hot volumes going on. Moving on to the outliers, later half of the show. Let's start where we usually do with advanced materials. Again, I expected a little more action on this ahead of the new destroyers, but there just hasn't been enough pew-pew to really back it up. We're seeing a trend on fulleриdes get turned around, which is definitely interesting. Don't know if that's actually going to be able to be sustained, but if you bought in at 560, now would be a great chance to think about selling. Then we're also seeing metamaterials stay stable, except for plasmonic. And the other mid-ranges don't seem to be moving very much. Things are staying relatively stable otherwise. And then the darling of the week, and if you were on Reddit this week, I went ahead and posted this. Not specifically this, I posted a prototype version. Quaff Zero, which is just one of my favorite boosters. I really think everybody should have a decent stack of these in their hold. Has been a collector's item for the last 3 or 4 years. It was a 10th anniversary gift, I believe. And what it does is it gives you a velocity modifier and I believe a signature radius modifier. And this is great. It gives a 3% boost. There's no drawbacks. You can cart it around in high sec. But it's been tracking up for like the last 3 years because it's a consumable. And the more people who take their quaff, the less there is left in the market. And there were rumors ahead of the Frostline patch, leaks from CC, that Quaff Zero was going to be one of the drops in the Frostline sites, and it is a very popular drop in the Quaff Zero sites. So it's interesting to track the sales volume as people are selling off their positions, and the price just absolutely going through the floor. And even at 10 million a hit, I think that's high. I think it can go a bit lower. I expect the best chance to buy in is going to be this weekend or during the following week. So we're going to keep a close eye on this for the next week or so. I really like Quaff Zero. I really think everybody should have a good chunk of it. And, I'm being corrected. It's scan res, not signature radius. So you lock faster, you move faster. This stuff is great, and I really think everybody should have a bit of it. Now, I know everybody's sort of speculating together that, buy it up and then sit on it forever and ever because it'll be 20 million again. And I'd like to point out that the CA implants have not recovered yet, if that's your plan. So I would stock up for the purpose of using this. This is the same advice I gave for geckos, is that I think this is a really useful tool to have in your arsenal, and you should absolutely buy a good stack of it to keep handy, and every PvPer should have a decent stack of Quaff Zero handy. But I also love drugs. Another one that I got pinged about this week was Amarian data cores. And you can notice those on these graphs as the ones that completely pinged the frickin' scales. I really need to do zoom-ins on them. I didn't get a chance to do it ahead of the show. Not really sure what's driving it. It looks really speculative, like somebody just bought out every single one on the market as a way to reset the prices. But I don't have the proper zoom-ins to really talk about it. It's definitely interesting, and we're seeing something similar as Galente Starship Engineering is tracking up into the stratosphere. Not really sure what's driving this. I always expect faction warfare guys to just dogpile on this stuff if it ever becomes profitable. So I'm really interested to see that Amarian loyalty points seem to be so valuable right now. Moving on from materials, we're going to go straight into ships, and these darlings I've been tracking for the last few weeks are the heavy interdictors, and I these are a pretty interesting one to track, especially if you're going to put them as counterbalance to the new destroyers. Seeing as they sort of are tit and tat for that. The broadsword is tracking up significantly. The devoter is tracking up significantly. Everything since the Frostline patch is just up, way up there. And these are a great opportunity for heavy manufacturers. The volumes have been pretty healthy. I'm glad to see these ships seeing a new light lately. So these are definitely interesting to see. Again, if you're planning on producing these, again, be very, very, very careful about volumes, because it's really easy for one or two guys to get greedy and destroy the market. So, but the money here is really good. Also, sticking on ships, we're seeing that the Proteus was having some time in the sun over the Thanksgiving break, but has since returned back to its normal. And we saw a spike in Tengus. Not sure where they were going specifically. Haven't seen any Tengu doctrines come up yet. That's the movements here are a little bit weird because I haven't seen any news to really back them up yet. So, but those are the Tech 3 cruisers. Great time to buy a Proteus if you needed one, though. I don't know if the price is going to get any better. Next, the Omen Navy issue, a favorite ship of mine. I freaking love this ship. The Omen is so pretty. Was tracking up big time. Again, another Amar loyalty point reward that just, like, I don't know if there are just no Amar loyalty points out there in the market, if everybody gave up and is now dogpiled on the Galente Caldari fight as Brave is beating up in Galente space. Not really sure what exactly is going on in the Amar faction warfare land, but there is some serious money to be made lately with the way some of those products have been bumping. Next on the list, the Rapier is down significantly. This is probably due to not great interplay against the new destroyers, and, well, maybe decent interplay. Just looks to have lost its stride. Perhaps we're seeing oversupply in manufacturing. It would require some more zoom in to really tell you why we're seeing such a steep decline. If you need Rapiers, though, this is a great chance to stock up. Next, the Arguer Navy issue. Again, another Amar loyalty point item. Again, through the roof and coming back down again. Again, if you have Amar faction warfare loyalty points, this weekend's going to be a great chance to cash out, but you really need to be out by the end of this weekend, because I think all these bubbles are going to burst simultaneously. For everyone else who wants to stock up on Amar equipment, the following weekend is probably going to be the glut of all of the slow people selling for peanuts. So it'd be a great chance to stock up in the following week. Next, the Tal War. Now, I did not expect the actual T1 variants of the new destroyers to track up. They're cheap and fast to make, and I didn't expect anyone to really stockpile them ahead for production. Seeing as it's really hard to get more than 100 of these through a system, it just didn't seem like enough volume to spike the price. But seems that I was wrong, especially on the Tal War here. And then Tornado is another really interesting one. We saw a high over Thanksgiving, but the prices have slumped. This looks like producers, again, oversupplying. Great chance to buy some Tornadoes if you need them. Again, a great ship, Vertical Supremacy. And then we're going to get towards the end here. We're looking at artificial neural networks, and those things have just been on a tear. We started at, man, that's hard to read. Started at somewhere around 5K and have just been tracking up and up and up and up and up. Not really sure what's going on here from the from the salvage point of view. I don't know if this is lower drop rates or higher consumption rates, or if this is stockpiling for building rigs for citadels. This is extremely strange behavior. Also, alloyed titanium bar, as I've been saying for the last month, is that the tank modules were going to be the really popular ones. At least that's what the zoom-ins looked like. And alloyed trit bars just keep tracking up. So if you bought in, this might be a decent chance to sell out. I don't know if the prices can stay this high, especially as we get closer to the event. I really don't know if this kind of heat can be sustained for 3 months. We're a pretty decent far way out, and we haven't actually seen the build requirements for the rigs, and we haven't really seen the information about rigs, so it's a pretty uncertain spot. I would sell, but that's because I'm a coward. So just take that with a grain of salt. Moving on to ship modules, we saw this pattern a lot in a lot of items. Looked like somebody decided they picked a loser on the Tyroside speculation and just sold out big time, crashing the price, but the prices have rebounded. So I would love to be the guys what caught those on the bottom end, because those are some pretty decent bargains. Basically doubled your money if you bought in at the bottom. And moving on to the weird modules, in my opinion. So we're looking right now at Dreadgarista's Warp Scramblers. They have been pretty stable, just above 75 million, and they have just been tracking up significantly up to 90 million. Not sure if this looks like the top, but not sure if that's exactly the case. Not really sure if this is probably has to do with the new Navy E-War frigs and the increased range, but man, to put a 90 million-esque warp scram on a 10 million-esque ship, or 20, whatever it's going to end up costing, that is some little bit blingy for my taste. Another interesting one, because this one just stays so stable, has been the Stasis Webifier 2. We've seen it track from 800k up above 900k. Again, the prices should stay really stable. A ton of people produce these items, and I don't know why the prices are tracking up as much as they are. Volumes are a little bit more erratic, a little bit higher, but really producers should be able to meet this demand without blinking. And then another extremely weird one is damage controls. Now, these are insanely popular. Almost every ship has a damage control, and yet the price, there's a huge buyout. Now, the speculation I've heard is that Imperium is stocking up for war, but man, that is some serious buyout at something like 18,000 in a day. That's almost 3 times the normal working day. So even Imperium, I have a hard time believing they're going to get through 18k of them. And then onto our last section. Going to try and keep this brief, our prediction review, where we look and see if I'm brilliant or an idiot. The Gecko, again, we've been tracking this one pretty closely, and prices are up. So if you manage to get in on the party after Eve Vegas at the 72 million mark, now is not a terrible chance to sell it. Target of 85. This is not a great chance to buy in on my advice originally that geckos are useful and you should stock up on them when the prices are good because you want to use them more than sell them. But that's my personal belief on that one. And then the Gila, we saw the nerf finally land in Frostline. It lost a low slot, and it has been tracking down ever since that announcement right around Eve Vegas. just down and down and down and down. I think we're in the basement at the moment at somewhere in the 215 mark. I still like the Gila. I still think it's a useful ship. But it's again a little hard to predict if this is the floor or not. And again, if we look, we see the sell volume just skyrocketing as people are trying to get out of their Gilas. So actually, the prices might come down even a little bit further than they are right now. Because man, that sell volume, just people don't want them anymore. And then another one that's been a bit of a pet to track has been the Echelon. Not sure if this was hype ahead of the Frostline event to run around in a proper Serpentis ship or not. But looks like there was some pretty significant buyout. And by significant buyout, I mean like somebody bought 10 of them. And the prices have been erratic. Again, I expect this to be back on its stable spot this weekend. So I just thought I'd highlight it because we've brought it up in the past. And with that, we're going to end the show. I want to thank everyone who tuned in live on Twitch and YouTube. If you want to tune in live, all you got to do... If you want to tune in live, all you get... Words. Damn it. Okay. If you want to tune in live, stop by at 0300 on Friday nights. That's Thursday night U.S. time. We will be having a show next week, but not for Christmas and not for New Year's. That will put us back on the air in January. If you want to follow the show, all you have to remember is Eve Prosper. That will get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and the blog. If you want to support us in what we do and help keep the lights on, consider stopping by our Patreon. The patrons do keep the lights on and help keep development running and keep licenses paid. So it really does mean a lot. And as we go into the holiday, be sure to follow the Twitch channel. As we go into the holiday, be sure to follow the Twitter channel where I'll be posting graphs and updates on where I'll be posting updates on words. Damn it. Jeez. Freaking crap. Be sure to follow on Twitter where I will be posting things like graphs and appearances and podcast episodes and blog episodes. That is really the best chance if you want to get the news first. You should really be following the Twitter. Again, I've been your host, Lockefox. Again, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we will be back next week for another episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. Jesus Christ, that ending was so fucking hard. Is what she said. All right. There was a question way at the beginning from Maha420, and I don't know if he's still here. I am sorry, he is not here. So no one will ever know the secrets as to why my graphs are so awesome. I'm an asshole. Okay, let's see if I can actually pull down this week's graphs and do the damn update. Why are my graphs so awesome? Hey, thanks, Ask Nate. It's because it's R, and I stole half of my shit from CCP Quant. All of it's done with R. The candlesticks are made by QuantMod, and the other graphs are made in ggplot. I really need to commit my R scripts to like their own repo. I'm just so bad about keeping them up to date. So I do have one I posted in the Reddit. So let me go ahead and share that. Oh, and I should have multiple pilot training certificate thingies. That's the technical term. Multiple pilot training certificate. This is why I should look at the graphs before I start the show. Woo. So we see the huge dip there, and we see just a astronomical volume, sell order volume, as so many more are coming to market. So again, this is such a great chance to get on that. So yeah, these plots. I went ahead and shared the source to that. You can't really run it locally because the tables are accessed through an ODBC connection, and you guys don't have access to our tables because I'm not writing an API. I just do not have that kind of time. If you really want the data, we can give you keys. You should stop by the Slack channel, the Prosper Slack channel on Tweetfleet Slack, information in the doobly-doo. And we can talk about getting you dev keys to at least read the data. The R stuff is great. So I've had this rant before, but I don't see anybody who's heard it, so I'm going to do it again. The way that we do development is that we do all the research in R, because it's so easy to be like, oh, I want to turn it this way and compare it against this and subtract this vector from that vector and do all that kind of stuff as sort of the experimentation. And then we can take that, anything that works, and move it over to Python for any real crunching. Now, I say that, and I haven't been able to write any real Python like that for months because I've been stuck doing cruncher duty. And I don't mind doing it. We're almost to the point where I've got the first Z Killboard script finally fucking done. I got working on the last bits and bobs for the cron script that will slurp in fresh kills off of Z Killboard. They do a published endpoint that just spews out kills. And that just leaves the API crawler and the Crest crawler, which should go reasonably quickly now that they've reduced some of the bullshit. Probably going to do the Crest crawler second, and then maybe ask Squiz for what I'm missing as a chance to go slurp it up. So the thing is that if you can write Python, I will pay you Plex. Is that I need help getting some of the low-hanging fruit out of the way so that I can do some of the higher tiered work. Now, I don't mean to be a jerk. It just is that a lot of people can write scrapers. Not a lot of people can write statistical scripts. So have some plans, would like to work on them. If you know someone or you yourself know stuff, I try really hard to be decent and understanding. We've got a guy who's picking up some of the Crest snapshotting. Stupid Genius from Capstable's picking that up, so I have stuff for all skill levels. But it's Python and R, and I still don't have great tutorials for R. Because I haven't figured out how to, explain the way that R thinks, if that makes any sense. So this is the frustration when you're coming to the... Oh, and the depth of statistical analysis, you'd be surprised. It's, barely. The R is a bit weird because you don't go through data the same way you do in regular code. Instead of walking through an array and being like, element 0 do this, element 1 do that, element 2 do that, and doing the whole, for I in group, you do everything on the entire vector at a time. So you say, okay, well, this vector I want to subtract from this vector, and I want to store it in this vector, and then I want you to find the quantiles of this vector, and then I want you to do CDF plot on this vector. Like, everything is done in bigger cuts, orthogonal cuts, as opposed to longitudinal cuts instead of orthogonal, whatever. And that, if you're really good at spreadsheets, you get it. If you've worked with other statistical languages like Pandas and probably MATLAB, though MATLAB and the way it does matrices still sort of melts my brain. Then you sort of get it. I don't know how to sell that to you guys and be like, oh no, it's easy. And then here's a little picture of this little cartoon that does blah, 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 blah. So, am I actually downloading anything? Yeah, it's just taking for goddamn ever. Oh, and are the keys writing? They shouldn't be writing for another 10 minutes. Whatever. So that's R and Python. I do like R for the experimentation. I fucking hate it for doing real work. Like, the one we're looking at right now is this huge custom thing, and I've basically put in every graph I want to see every week, and it's just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. It's 1,000 friggin' lines of R. So, yeah, opinions. And then RODBC and SQLite are not friends for some reason. So, yeah, the stuff we're doing is not that groundbreaking, but I need to do a lot more of it to get to the part where I want to do. So, right now, if you go to the blog and you go to the code section, there is a section on the way we do price flagging. And the tool we have for that is amazing. The guy who helped me write it is freaking outstanding. And he did most of the work. Let me give him most of the credit. And But the problem is that adding new models into that, so we want to do two things. We want to be able to add a whole bunch of models so that it does, it looks at vectors in similar ways and characterizes. So for instead of an item and you go, well, let me look at the price. Let me look at the price deviation, and let me look at the volume deviation, which is what we look at right now. Instead of just looking at that, I also wanted to be like, and let me look at the kill statistics, and let me look at the actual Eve Central data against it. Like, let me go look at 5 or 6 or 7 cuts of that data, and then pipe those flags up to another processor that helps us better rank what's important and what's not. The problem is that I don't have a way to pass up those flags right now, and adding new flags is difficult. It's not well organized to handle it. There were a lot of... it was designed to do one thing, and then we got done with that one thing, and we're like, no, but what if it did this? And so I got to go rewrite it. But I haven't been able to rewrite it because I've been busy writing scrapers and making graphs for you guys and trying not to get fired at work. So yeah, it's been a fucking hard week. How have you been, Internet? My drink is strong. I am rambling. And RStudio makes it a lot easier to work with. R right by itself, it does some really fucking stupid things, and I hate it for it because it's not a full-blown language. But yeah, ggplot is great, and basically, whenever I run into a corner, I scour CCP Quant's posts on Reddit until I can find my answer. Like, so you guys have no idea how much of a pain in the ass this was. Let me go pull up one of these graphs. So, this one was a pain in the ass. So, getting the names next to the ticks was a pain in the butt because turns out what draws the vertical lines cares about the data axis differently than what writes the words. They don't do the same thing. And I was running into that. I was going round and round that for like hours, days. And yeah, and then the next one that I got hung for was, let me see if I can pull up the original. Is that so? This looks all nice and pretty, right? We've got prices with pretty little bees and the different scales, and they're all aligned. Well, it's not how we started. Let me show you how we started, which was this one. Can I just open the whole damn thing? What we started on was this, where we were using faceting instead. And so I couldn't control what was going on, and so we got these ugly axes, and it blobbed all of the titles together, and I couldn't control the colors as well. So yeah, that was kind of a mess. The new version looks so much better, even though I think I'm going to screw with the colors some more because I don't like the red and blue. I think I might lighten them up a bit. Well, and so Caleb is talking about CCP Quant in the Twitch chat, and the common misnomer is that he is not CCP's economist. He is their data scientist. It's just that the economy is a big source of that data. So he's pretty quick to give CCP Recur credit for any of the economics. And I'm hoping that he publishes more, publishes those data streams he was putting up in those dev blogs. I bugged him this week about when are we going to see the next economic report, because he said monthly, and it's been like 35 days. And yeah, so his stuff is just really interesting because he's very much about how do we get the data, and how do we look at it quickly and easily, and how do we get values out of that. And yeah, I could do moving averages. I don't know if I can make them pretty though. No, I can add a line. Yeah, I can do that. It's not that hard. I can do moving averages. So I'm hoping he starts releasing some of the raw data, so that, because he puts them out in a way that looks good in blogs, and I need 16 by 9. And dear CCP Fozzie, if you are listening to this, 16 by 9 for fuck's sake. Oh my god, I hate your graphs. So yeah, I should be able to put dotted lines for moving averages. I don't know why I couldn't. Let me go make a note about that. I'll mess with that this weekend. See if I can get some pretty lines in there. Mixing styles, though, always makes me worried. He said he'd work on it, and I know that there's part of it is political, that publishing the graphs is one thing, publishing the actual numbers is another. Two is that I don't think that he has any of CCP Foxfor's time to get it onto like a Crest API. I told him to go put it onto Quandle, which is a really great platform. It's just basically they host data. That's all they do, and they have a unified API. And I wanted to put it on Quandle so I can go write a Quandle parser. The service is amazing. Let me go link that in the channels. There's so many cool data sets, and the data is really easy to get at, and you can compare data right there on the site. Like, it's everything you could want from an API. It's amazing. It's well documented. You know exactly what you're spending too. They have some premium ones for like stock stuff, and you can get samples to mess with for free before you have to go and spend any money. And the licensing packages are really reasonable if you look against other stuff. So, yeah, I'm really hoping he starts publishing it. I'm kind of hoping that they just sort of say, oh, well, since he's such an R wizard, I'm sort of hoping that he just presses play on a Quandle endpoint and basically updates it once a month. Just as a way to get the data out there. If he can get the data hosted, I can get the data crunched. So that's sort of the idea. And if I can get if he gives those statistics, I can then put them into our suite. I don't know how much of it is really useful. So one of the requests I've got a lot of, and I've been resisting, partially because it's kind of a pain in the ass to write, and partially because I don't believe in them, is the indexes. So like the primary producer index and those kind of things. I don't love indexes. So things like the Dow and the NASDAQ are interesting, but they aren't useful. Like I've said this to my friends that just because the NASDAQ is up or down a percentage point, what would you do with your portfolio if you heard on the news that the NASDAQ was up or down a percentage point? And the smart guys I know are like, well, our stock is in the NASDAQ. I'd probably check our stock. And I'm like, okay, that's what I would do. And then what? And then they're like, I don't know. I mean, they're academically interesting, and they're canaries when something really bad is going on. But they're so slow, and they're so muddied by the general miasma of the way the markets work that I just do not see the value. Now, I do want to make some indicators about things, but I want to do stuff about like the value of loyalty points and minor ISK per hours. I think are far more useful indicators for what's actually going on for Eve. But I fucking hate the generalized ones. I never see the value of them. I think they're too generalized. They're way too slow to do anything with. They're just a muddy statistic that tells you what you already know. But I'm an engineer. I'm not a quant guy. I come from a spot of I know math. I can do math, which is always dangerous. There's an XKCD about that. I don't mind some of the like specific statistics. So like this is my problem with like MOBA statistics is that, for instance, people talk about win rates, and I think win rates are a shitty metric. They tell you sort of some gross statistics and some greater trends, but win statistics have so much cooked into them that what value are you really going to get out of it? Like, oh no, it's like 55% or 56%, and that's a big difference. Like, no, it's it has so many pieces in it that like, how do you hear any signal over the noise? Whereas what I'd want to do is I'd want to do statistics where you match them up against what they're matched up against, and the MMRs of the people behind them and that kind of thing. So I really want to get statistics that are indicators that actually indicate something. So like, I want to be able to publish to you guys sort of a generalized mining hourly wage, so we can talk about like, oh, high sec minerals are down but low sec minerals are up or whatever, and we can mix those together and actually get something out of it. Or we can say, oh look, the median ISK per LP for Caldari is up, so if you've got Caldari loyalty points, you should be cashing them out. Like, those are useful trends. And putting that against like kill statistics and say, oh, well, this is how many Caldari have been dying and how many Galente have been dying. Like, that's a useful statistic. But primary producer index, I think, is a garbage statistic. I really shouldn't break my no drinking rule, because now I'm just getting rambly. All the alcohol's at the bottom. So we're getting to the last 5 minutes I have for the Q&A section. Feel free to put any extra questions in the chat channels. If you have any other questions I didn't get to, be sure you can always contact me at Lockefox in game. I'm really slow to respond though, so please be patient. And I'm also available at prospermarketshow@gmail.com. Is the best place to get in touch with me. So it'd be nice to know the LP payouts, but I don't think we need it. So, Caleb, I have a bit of a unique standpoint when it comes to EVE data, is that I don't specifically want CCP to spoil it all, because I think that takes some of the fun out of it. As much as those are interesting statistics, absolutely. Like, how much LP payout are we seeing from each of the 4 faction warfare groups? Absolutely an interesting question to have answered. But the half of the fun of doing this is breaking the system and working back that stuff, because the data is already out there, and solving that puzzle is part of the fun. I also think we were talking about fog of war in Slack today, specifically on the markets, that there is a amount of fog of war, and you can't really know, like, you can know how many items were sold in a region, but you can't know how many were sold in each station. So it's really hard to tell exactly how many items went to buy orders and sell orders, and it's hard to tell you where things are actually going. But I think that people rely on perfect statistics way too much, and that they sort of just use it as an excuse not to do the work. And like, okay, the PCU number is kind of hard to get at, and the kill statistics are a little hard to get at. But like, if you wanted to know something, like, CCP Quant at EVE Vegas put up a graph that talked about there are 3 times more items produced than destroyed. And that is a number that I found myself, and when I ran the numbers, I did not believe. Because I found that out maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, no, that can't be right. I had to have screwed up my statistics, or I had to have screwed up my queries, and I must not be counting something. But it turns out that's the slippage, is that people purchase way more than they end up losing. And I really wish I knew where it was all going, but the fact that it tracks, and the fact that they're in sync, and that one does not lead the other, is a statistic that I think is valuable, interesting, but is kind of spoiled if CCP just comes out and says it. It's just like, oh yeah, no. Kills and sales volume are like are hand in hand. They don't actually move at all. So it's I like it because having imperfect data challenges us to come up with better solutions. It causes us to have to be smarter than each other to get to the piece of data we want. And spoiling it on some of the statistics that we just can't get, I'm more than happy with. Like, I want to know times, and I've asked Quant this directly, that I want to know, like, how many hours of production were done in the last every day is what I'd really love to know. How many rats were killed, and how many hours were spent mining, because I want to know what players are doing with their time. I think that is a useful statistic that is a lot harder to get at through the data. I mean, yeah, you could get at mining numbers through sales volumes. You can get to the NPC kill statistics off of the APIs that already exist. You can get to a lot of those statistics sort of sideways. But yeah, the I only want them to spoil things that are really hard to figure out otherwise. And I really want to know what players are doing with their time, because I think time is the number one commodity. And I'd also like to know hauling numbers would be another big one I want to know. So those are the numbers I want to see. Is I want to see the stuff that we just don't get. I want to see new data. I want to go pair that new data against old data and say, oh well, module activations are up because not only is PCU up, but activity is up, or PCU numbers are flat, but activity numbers are up. Like, what does that mean? So those are numbers I want to go see. And then in the YouTube chat, Durfer Pies is asking about where to unload gold and silver amber. Probably Amar or Dodixie is probably the best I can do for you. But that ship is probably sailed. And then Stampede Race is asking who's my favorite Dota 2 character, and I don't play Dota 2. I play HOTS because I am trash. And Rock Band. I play a lot of Rock Band. Stream it over at HLib Industry. I've been really bad about doing those streams though. So, yeah. With that though, I do have to end the stream so I can get editing. We can get this up on YouTube and everybody can go consume it in all of its glory, because this is the best show on all of YouTube, right? Probably not. But thanks again for everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everyone who enjoyed the rambling. Come join us on the Tweet Fleet Slack. Information is down in the doobly-doos below, I believe. I don't know if it's up on YouTube. And we will be back next week with more market stuff and more graphs. So stay tuned.